The council chamber was massive, bigger than any building Lucas Grant had ever seen on Earth. Beings from 47 different worlds sat in circles around him, watching with eyes that ranged from familiar to completely alien. Some had scales, others had crystal bodies that caught the light, and a few looked like they were made of water held together by invisible force fields. Lucas stood in the center wearing his best diplomatic suit. Next to him, Helen Martinez held a tablet computer against her chest. Both humans tried to look calm, but their hearts were racing. This was the moment that would decide how humanity joined the Galactic Federation. The leader of the council was called the High Chancellor. It was a being made entirely of crystal that glowed with different colors. Right now it glowed a soft blue, which the translation device in Lucas's ear told him meant the creature was feeling formal and important. "We welcome humanity to the Galactic Federation," the Chancellor said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes, but the translator made the words clear in Lucas's head. "You are now part of our great family. As we do with all new members, we invite you to share your technology with us. In return, you will receive access to 14,000 years of knowledge from all our worlds." Lucas had practiced this moment 100 times on the ship coming here. He had argued with Earth's leaders about what to say. Some wanted to accept everything the Federation offered. Others wanted to be more careful. In the end, they decided that Lucas would do something no species had ever done before. "Thank you, Chancellor," Lucas said, his voice steady even though his hands wanted to shake. "We are honored to join the Federation. We want to work with all of you on many things, but we must decline the technology exchange." The room went completely silent. Then all at once dozens of aliens started talking. Some made clicking sounds, others hummed, and a few made noises Lucas couldn't even describe. The translator struggled to keep up with all the voices. A reptile-like creature stood up. Its scales were bright orange, which Lucas had learned meant it was upset. "You are refusing?" the creature said. Its name was Voss, and it was the chief scientist for the entire Federation. "Perhaps the translation is wrong. You cannot mean to refuse sharing technology." "The translation is correct," Lucas replied. He felt Helen shift slightly beside him, offering silent support. "We will share culture with you. We will trade goods. We will work together on many projects. But our technology will remain ours alone for now." The Crystal Chancellor turned bright purple, which was definitely a bad sign. Around the room, other aliens stood up from their seats. A creature that looked like a giant praying mantis clicked its mouthparts rapidly. "This has never happened before," it said loudly. "Every species shares their technology. This is how we build trust. This is how the Federation works." Helen stepped forward slightly. She had always been braver than Lucas in some ways. "We understand this is unusual," she said. "But we have studied your history carefully. We noticed something interesting about how technology moves through the Federation." "Are you saying we do something wrong?" Voss asked. His scales turned even brighter red. "We are saying we need to be careful," Lucas answered quickly. "Earth's history teaches us hard lessons. Many times, people who shared everything they knew ended up being hurt by those they trusted. Until we understand how power works in the Federation, we think it is smart to protect what we have built." The Chancellor's purple color faded to a darker shade. The being seemed to be thinking hard. "You speak about trust, Ambassador Grant. But you refuse to give us the very thing that would build trust between us." Helen pulled up some images on her tablet and projected them in the air for everyone to see. "With respect, Chancellor, trust is not built through trading information. Trust is built through actions over time. We have a different idea. Let us exchange culture and work together on science, but without giving away all our technology secrets. Let us learn about each other as people first." The suggestion hung in the air like a challenge. For thousands of years, the Federation had welcomed new species the same way. Every new member had always accepted the technology exchange with gratitude and excitement. No one had ever questioned it. No one had ever said no. Now these humans, the newest and smallest species in the Federation, were refusing to follow the rules. Some of the council members looked angry. Others looked confused. A few looked curious, as if seeing something completely new for the first time. Lucas knew this moment was dangerous. Earth was just one planet with a few million people living on it. The Federation had trillions of beings across hundreds of worlds. If they decided humanity was a problem, there was nothing Earth could do to stop them. But Lucas also knew that showing fear would be worse than showing strength. Earth had sent him here with clear instructions. Be polite, be friendly, but do not give away the technologies that keep humanity safe. Earth had developed some things that even the Federation did not have, and those things were worth protecting. The Chancellor's color shifted again, this time to a thoughtful yellow. You wish to earn our trust slowly, then, to prove yourselves worthy before sharing your knowledge. We wish to know you before we become vulnerable, Lucas corrected gently. This is not about being worthy. This is about being wise, another council member spoke up. This one was a floating jellyfish-like creature that glowed with soft light. But how can we work together if we do not share our tools and knowledge freely? The same way individuals work together before they become family, Helen said. You do not tell all your secrets to a stranger, even a friendly one. First you spend time together. You learn about each other. You build connection through experience, not through information. Voss, the reptilian scientist, made a hissing sound. His scales were still red, but not quite as bright. This is most unusual. The Council must discuss this in private. The Chancellor agreed. We will take time to consider your proposal, Ambassador Grant and Dr. Martinez. Please return to your ship. We will contact you when we have made our decision. Lucas and Helen bowed slightly, a gesture of respect they had practiced. Then they turned and walked out of the chamber. As soon as the doors closed behind them, Helen let out a long breath. That was terrifying, she said quietly. That was necessary, Lucas replied. Now we wait and see if they respect our decision or if they decide we are more trouble than we are worth. Back in the chamber, the council members began to argue among themselves. Some felt insulted by humanity's refusal. Others were curious about why such a young species would be so protective of their technology. A few wondered what secrets humanity might be hiding that made them so cautious. The Chancellor listened to all the voices, its crystal body shifting through colors, as it processed different emotions and thoughts. Finally it spoke. These humans are either very wise or very foolish. Time will reveal which, but they have given us something to think about. Perhaps we have become too comfortable in our ways. Perhaps we have forgotten what it means to protect what is valuable. The meeting ended with more questions than answers. The Federation had welcomed its newest member, but that member had refused to follow the most basic tradition of membership. It was unprecedented, confusing, and more than a little exciting. On the human ship Aurora, Lucas sat in his quarters and sent a message back to Earth. First contact complete. We held our position. Now we see what happens next. 3 weeks had passed since the council meeting, and the Federation leaders were having secret discussions about humanity. They met in a special room on a space station called Nexus Prime, far from where the humans could see or hear them. On the human ship Aurora, Kyle Barnes stood looking out a window at the distant space station. He was a military officer, trained to notice when people were watching him. And right now he knew the Federation was watching humanity very carefully. Sophie Turner sat nearby, studying data on her computer. She was the ship's engineer, and she understood how things worked better than almost anyone. They are scared, Sophie said without looking up. I have been reading their communications. The scans we let them take of our ship have made them nervous. Kyle nodded. They should be nervous. Have you seen their latest science report? Sophie pulled up a document on her screen. It was full of technical words and numbers, but the meaning was clear. They do not understand our power systems. They know we use fusion reactors, but they cannot figure out why our energy output is so much higher than their math says it should be. Because we did not tell them about the quantum resonance chambers, Kyle said with a small smile, or that we have had stable fusion for 70 years longer than they think. The truth was that humanity had been very lucky when first contact happened. The Federation had discovered a human exploration ship at the edge of known space. That ship, called the Endeavour, had been running on low power when the aliens found it. By the time official contact was made, Earth's governments had already agreed on a plan. Show the Federation only what they needed to see, and keep humanity's real capabilities hidden until Earth understood the political situation better. Back on Nexus Prime, the Federation's Science Council was having a difficult meeting. Voss, the reptilian scientist, was showing three-dimensional pictures of human technology. Next to Federation technology, the differences were troubling. Their materials science is decades ahead of where it should be, Voss explained to the other council members. The metal covering their ships is made of something we cannot identify. Our sensors say it is as strong as our military armor, but their public records claim they only started traveling to other stars recently. A jellyfish-like being named Quell floated near the display, its body pulsing with worry. Could another species have given them this technology before we found them? No, said Admiral Krenth, a military officer who had lived for 300 years. We have watched their solar system since we discovered them. No other species has gone near their planet. Whatever they have, they made it themselves. The Crystal Chancellor appeared in the room as a hologram. Then we must consider something uncomfortable. Humanity may have technology that could change the balance of power in the Federation. This statement made everyone go quiet. The Federation had maintained peace for over 6,000 years, by making sure no single species was much stronger than the others. Everyone shared technology, so everyone stayed roughly equal. If humanity had secrets that made them more advanced, it could upset everything. We cannot force them to share, Quell observed. Our own laws say we cannot make species give us their technology. But we can investigate, Admiral Krenth said. We can send scientists to Earth. We can offer to work on projects together. We can learn what they know through cooperation. Voss's scales turned blue, which meant he was thinking. I also think we should look at our own technology development. If humans advance this far on their own, maybe we have become lazy. Maybe we rely too much on sharing old knowledge instead of creating new knowledge. The Chancellor's hologram brightened slightly. These humans are showing us an uncomfortable truth about ourselves. Very well. Try to work with them on science projects. But remember, they are Federation members now. They have rights and protection. We will not become the kind of civilization we fought against long ago. Meanwhile, on the Aurora, Lucas was talking to Earth through a special encrypted communication channel. The holographic image of General Patricia Cole flickered slightly as she spoke from Earth. Your plan is working, Ambassador. The Federation is investigating us, but they are being polite about it. They are more curious than hostile. Lucas leaned back in his chair. Curiosity can turn into suspicion quickly, General. We need to give them something real soon, or they might start seeing us as a threat. I agree, General Cole said. Dr. Martinez is preparing some medical technology we can share. Things that will show we are friendly without revealing our strategic advantages. And if they push for more information, then we remind them that being independent means we get to keep our own secrets. They will either accept that or they will not, but we will not be forced into a weak position. Days later, Helen found herself working on a Federation research station called Unity 7. It was a huge facility where dozens of different species worked on science projects together. Helen had volunteered to come here, both to build real friendships and to watch how the Federation actually operated when no one was making speeches. Her lab partner was a crystal being named Crystallix. Helen still could not pronounce the name correctly, even after trying many times. The being's crystal body made beautiful patterns of light on the laboratory walls as they worked together. Your species heals from injuries very quickly, Crystallix said through Helen's translation device. The way your cells repair themselves is fascinating. Is this natural for humans? Helen smiled as she looked at tissue samples under a microscope. We heal pretty well naturally, but we have also developed treatments that help us heal faster. Nothing too dramatic, just accelerated recovery. Would you share how these treatments work? Crystallix's body grew brighter with excitement. Combined with our healing technology, we might be able to help species whose bodies do not heal well with current methods. This was the moment Helen had been waiting for. She put down her tools and looked directly at her colleague. I can share the basic science, yes. The biology is not really secret, but the delivery systems and how we make the treatments are restricted technology. Crystallix's light dimmed. I see, may I ask why? Because they use nanotechnology, Helen explained honestly. And our methods for building things at the nanoscale are something we are not ready to share yet. You have working nanotechnology? Crystallix's entire body flashed with surprise. But that is considered a level 6 advancement. The Federation has been trying to make stable nano-assembly work for over 300 years. The Threxians came closest, but they only succeed 40% of the time. Helen nodded slowly. She had revealed more than she planned, but she decided to continue being honest. We have had stable nano-assembly for about 20 years. It is one reason we are being careful about sharing technology. Some of our capabilities would be considered very advanced by Federation standards. Crystallix was quiet for a long time, its body cycling through colors Helen could not interpret. Finally it spoke. You are protecting yourselves. We are being careful, Helen said gently. We are the newest members of a very large political organization that we do not fully understand yet. History has taught us that revealing all your capabilities too quickly can be dangerous. Your species has trouble with trust. Our species has experience with trust, Helen corrected. We have learned that real partnerships are built on mutual respect and gradual sharing, not on immediate vulnerability. Within days, Krystallix's report reached the Science Council. From there, news spread through diplomatic channels. The Federation was beginning to understand that humanity was not being arrogant or hostile. They were being defensive based on historical experience. On Earth, Colonel Ben Harper was leading a different kind of exchange. The Federation military had sent observers to watch human training exercises. Harper's job was to show them something impressive without revealing too much. The observers, including a Kellian officer named Vex and a Threxian analyst named Click, watched from a safe observation post. They saw human soldiers conducting what was officially called a standard combat drill. What they witnessed shocked them completely. Human soldiers moved with precision and speed that seemed impossible. Their weapons were more accurate than Federation energy weapons, even though they fired simple projectiles. Most impressive was their coordination. Soldiers worked in perfect synchronization without any visible communication. How are they coordinating? Vex demanded, his scales showing confusion. We are monitoring all radio frequencies. They are not transmitting anything. Harper allowed himself a small smile. Neural interface technology. Each soldier has an implant under their skin that allows silent communication through quantum encrypted channels. That is impossible, Click said, his mouth parts clicking rapidly. Neural interfaces need massive computing power. The processing units would have to be carried in backpacks, and even then, the signal delay would make coordination clumsy. Would have to be, Harper agreed. If you were using standard quantum processors, we developed something more efficient. He did not explain further, and the observers did not push. But the implication was clear. Humanity had made advances in computing that put them well ahead of Federation standards. Reports from both the research station and the military demonstration. The formal summons arrived 3 months after humanity had joined the Federation. Ambassador Lucas Grant was invited to appear before the full council for what they called a comprehensive dialogue about future cooperation. Lucas knew this was an important moment that could change everything. He prepared carefully, working with his team. Helen Martinez would come with him, along with Kyle Barnes and a new diplomat named Catherine Wells. Catherine was an expert in trade negotiations, and Lucas had a feeling they would need her skills. The council chamber looked different than it had during their first meeting. Instead of the circular setup with humans in the center, the Chancellor had arranged things more intimately. Representatives from the Federation's founding species sat in a semicircle facing the small human group. Ambassador Grant, the Crystal Chancellor began, its body glowing with warm amber light. We have reached an important point in our relationship. The Council has spent considerable time thinking about your species' position, and we believe we understand your perspective better now. Lucas remained standing, respectful, but confident. We appreciate the Council's consideration, Chancellor. Voss, the reptilian scientist, spoke next. His scales were a neutral green. Our observations over the past months have shown that humanity has technology that exceeds our initial assessments. In some areas, you have surpassed even our most advanced species. We have certain strengths, Lucas acknowledged carefully. The jellyfish-like quell pulsed gently. You also have wisdom. Your reluctance to share immediately what took you generations to develop shows an understanding that we perhaps had forgotten. This was unexpected. Lucas glanced at Helen, who gave him a tiny nod of encouragement. The Chancellor continued. We propose a new framework, Ambassador. Instead of the traditional complete technology exchange, we suggest a tiered partnership system. Humanity would share specific technologies of your choosing in exchange for Federation knowledge in areas you want. The exchange would be negotiated, not automatic. Both parties would maintain control over their most sensitive developments. Catherine Wells leaned forward, her diplomatic instincts engaged. You are proposing trade agreements instead of open sharing? We are proposing a fundamental change to how the Federation operates, the Chancellor replied, its form brightening. Your arrival has forced us to face an uncomfortable truth. Our system of complete openness has fostered cooperation, but it has also created complacency. No species has had reason to pursue revolutionary innovation when small improvements were enough. Admiral Krenth spoke up. Your humans have, in 300 years of space travel, developed neural interfaces, advanced nanotechnology, and material science that took us thousands of years to reach. You did this because you had to, because you were alone. We have been comfortable and stagnant. Lucas felt the weight of this admission. These beings were recognizing their own weaknesses and proposing to learn from humanity's approach. You want us to teach you how to innovate? We want to learn from your model, Voss clarified. Humanity's controlled technology sharing would create what your economists call competitive advantage. Other species, seeing humans advancing through protected innovation, would be motivated to pursue their own unique research instead of relying on shared knowledge. Helen spoke up. You are talking about introducing competition into a system built on cooperation. That is a massive cultural shift. It is, the Chancellor agreed, but necessary. The galaxy is vast, and we have become comfortable in our small corner of it. There are other civilizations out there, some potentially hostile. We need to be innovative and adaptable, not just knowledgeable. Catherine raised a practical concern. And economically. Technology is currency in many ways. You are proposing a system where that currency has controlled exchange rates. Exactly, Quell pulsed. Technologies would have negotiated value. Species with unique developments could trade for access to others. It creates motivation for research while maintaining cooperation. Lucas took a moment to think. They had come prepared to defend humanity's position, maybe to make small compromises. Instead, the Federation was proposing to restructure itself based on humanity's model. It was both flattering and concerning. This would be a fundamental change to Federation law, Lucas observed. Not all species will accept this easily. No, the Chancellor acknowledged. It will require careful work and time. But we believe it is necessary. Your species showed courage by standing on principle despite being the smallest and newest member. That courage has shown us flaws in our system. Kyle Barnes had been quiet until now. He asked a question that got to the heart of the matter. What guarantees do we have that this is not just a sophisticated method of taking our technology? Create a market for tech, then use political and economic pressure to force trades? The Chancellor's form flickered through several colors before settling on a deep, sincere blue. You have no guarantees except our word and our actions. Trust, as Dr. Martinez told me months ago, is earned through actions, not transactions. We propose a test program, 5 years of controlled technology exchanges between humanity and willing Federation partners. At the end of 5 years, everyone assesses whether the system works. If it proves harmful to humanity, you may leave the program without penalty. And if it proves successful? Helen asked. Then we reshape the Federation to embrace innovation alongside cooperation, Voss replied. We become not just a union of shared knowledge, but a catalyst for continuous advancement. Lucas asked for a break to talk with Earth's leadership. For 3 hours, the human team debated with leaders on Earth through encrypted communications. Scientists, economists, and politicians all gave their opinions on whether to accept the proposal. Finally, Lucas returned to the council chamber. Humanity accepts the proposal with conditions. First, all technology exchanges must be voluntary and specifically negotiated. Second, humanity keeps the right to classify any technology as non-transferable without explanation. Third, the 5-year test includes an annual review where both parties can raise concerns. Agreed, the Chancellor responded immediately. We would add one condition. Humanity will serve on a newly created Innovation Council, helping other species develop frameworks for protected research and strategic technology development. Lucas smiled and extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement that Federation species had learned to recognize. Agreed. As the formal treaties were prepared for signing, Helen found herself standing with Crystallix in an observation area overlooking the chamber. The crystal being glowed with gentle contentment. You changed everything, Crystallix communicated. By refusing to be absorbed into our comfortable system, you challenged us to be better. We were just protecting ourselves, Helen replied. You were teaching us, Crystallix corrected. Sometimes the greatest gift is not sharing everything freely, but showing others the value of earning their own discoveries. Over the following weeks, The agreement was finalized and announced to the entire Federation. The response was mixed. Some species embraced the new system eagerly, excited by the possibility of developing unique advantages. Others were skeptical, worried that competition would destroy the harmony the Federation had maintained for millennia. But even the skeptics could not deny that something had shifted. For the first time in thousands of years, the Federation felt dynamic again. Species that had been content to use technology developed by others began investing in their own research programs. Universities and institutes that had focused on teaching existing knowledge started prioritizing innovation. The Threxians announced the opening of 3 new technology institutes focused on robotics. The Morvellians committed massive resources to biotechnology research. Even smaller species that had never contributed much to the technology pool began exploring areas where their unique perspectives might lead to breakthroughs. Lucas watched all of this unfold with a mixture of pride and anxiety. Pride that humanity had sparked such positive change. Anxiety about whether the change would ultimately be stable and beneficial, or whether it would lead to conflict and division. One evening, he shared these concerns with Helen over dinner in the Aurora's small dining hall. "Did we do the right thing?" he asked. "We have fundamentally altered a civilization that had achieved peace and stability for thousands of years." Helen considered the question carefully. "We showed them an alternative. They chose to embrace it. That choice was theirs, not ours. But we knew they would choose it. We knew that once we demonstrated the value of protected innovation, they would not be able to return to the old system." "Maybe the old system had run its course," Helen suggested. "Maybe they needed disruption. Sometimes comfort becomes its own kind of prison." Kyle joined them carrying a report on his tablet. "Speaking of disruption, intelligence reports that at least 20 species are accelerating their research programs. Some are focusing on areas where they think they can develop advantages quickly." "Any signs of conflict?" Lucas asked. "Not yet, but there is definitely tension. Species are being more protective of their data. There is less casual sharing of information. The culture is shifting. From cooperation to competition," Lucas said quietly. "From complacent cooperation to motivated innovation," Helen corrected. "There is a difference." 9 months had passed since the new agreement was signed, and the first collaborative projects were beginning to show results. The Federation was buzzing with an energy that had been absent for centuries. Research stations across dozens of worlds were working on projects that combined human innovation with alien expertise. Helen Martinez stood in a laboratory on Unity 7, the research station where she had first worked with Crystallix. Today they were presenting their joint project to a gathering of scientists from across the Federation. The room was packed with beings of every description, all eager to see what human Vrelnir cooperation had produced. "The breakthrough came when we stopped trying to simply combine our technologies," Helen explained, gesturing to holographic displays showing complex molecular structures. Humans focused on manipulation at the molecular level. The Vrelnir approached healing through energy field resonance. By understanding each other's fundamental theories rather than just copying techniques, we developed something neither species could have achieved alone. Crystallix's crystal body glowed brightly as it added to the presentation. "The result is a healing system that works on a broader range of species than either approach alone. Initial tests show a 70% success rate across 12 different biological types." The audience responded with enthusiastic questions. Scientists wanted to know technical details. Medical officers wanted to know about practical applications, and administrators wanted to know about implementation timelines. The presentation ran an hour longer than scheduled because interest was so high. After the presentation, Helen found herself surrounded by researchers from different species, all wanting to discuss potential collaborations. A Kellian medical officer named Dax approached her with particular interest. "My species has struggled with cellular degeneration for generations," Dax explained, his scales a hopeful green. "Our healing technologies work poorly on our biology. Would humanity be interested in a joint project to adapt your nanotechnology principles to Kellian physiology?" Helen smiled. "I would need to get approval from Earth Command, but I think we could work something out. The medical applications of our technology are areas we are more comfortable sharing than, say, military applications." "Of course," Dax agreed. "We understand the need for strategic protection. In fact, my government has begun classifying some of our own research. It feels strange after so many years of complete openness, but I must admit it is also exciting to think we might develop something uniquely valuable. This conversation was happening all across the Federation. Species that had shared everything for millennia were now learning to be selective, to protect what was valuable, and to negotiate for what they wanted. It was a fundamental shift in how the civilization operated. Meanwhile, on a Federation military training facility near the Kellyan homeworld, Kyle Barnes was working with Admiral Krenth on a joint defense project. The two had formed an unexpected friendship over the past months, bonding over shared military experience and mutual respect. "Your materials science continues to amaze me," Krenth said, examining a sample of human armor plating. "This compound should not be possible according to our understanding of molecular bonds." Kyle grinned. "That is because we approach materials differently. We do not just combine elements. We manipulate quantum states at the molecular level to create properties that would not naturally exist." "And you are willing to share this knowledge?" "Some of it," Kyle replied carefully. "We will share the theoretical principles and some applications, but the exact manufacturing processes remain classified for now. However, we are very interested in your energy dispersion technology. If we could combine your energy field manipulation with our material strength, we could create defensive systems far superior to what either species has alone." Krenth's scales shifted to an approving blue. "A fair trade. Knowledge for knowledge, with both parties maintaining some secrets. I confess this new system takes getting used to. For my entire life, Federation members shared everything freely." "Was that system working?" Kyle asked. Krenth was quiet for a moment. "It was comfortable, but comfortable is not the same as effective. In 300 years, our defensive technology had barely improved. We had achieved a plateau and did not realize it because everyone was on that plateau together. The joint project proceeded quickly. Within weeks, they had prototype shield systems that combined Kellyan energy dispersion with human material science. The results exceeded both species' projections. The new shields were 40% more efficient than previous designs and could adapt to different types of weapons. When news of the success spread, other species began approaching both humans and Kellyans with partnership proposals. The Federation's military command, which had been skeptical of the new system, became its strongest supporter once they saw the practical benefits. Back on Earth, Catherine Wells was working on the economic implications of the technology trade system. She had meetings scheduled with representatives from 15 different species, all wanting to establish formal trade agreements. Her office in Geneva overlooked the city, and she often stood at the window thinking about how much had changed. A year ago, Earth had been isolated, unknown to the galaxy. Now they were at the center of a transformation affecting trillions of beings across hundreds of worlds. Her assistant, a young man named Danny Foster, brought her the latest trade proposals. "The Threxians are offering access to their robotics research in exchange for human computing technology," he summarized. "The Morvellians want to trade bioengineering knowledge for agricultural tech, and the Pellians are proposing a three-way deal involving us, them, and the Vrelnir." Catherine reviewed the proposals carefully. "The Threxian deal looks good. Their robotics are genuinely advanced in areas we have not explored. Approve preliminary negotiations. The Morvellian proposal needs modification. They are asking for too much for too little. Send back a counteroffer. And the Pellian three-way deal is interesting but complicated. Schedule a conference call with all parties." Danny made notes on his tablet. "You know, a year ago I was processing visa applications. Now I am helping negotiate interstellar trade agreements. It is surreal." Catherine smiled. "Welcome to the new galaxy, Danny. Get used to surreal. It is our normal now." The economic transformation was as significant as the scientific one. Technology had become a tradable commodity with real value. Species were developing unique specializations, creating an interstellar economy more dynamic than anything the Federation had seen before. But not everyone was happy with the changes. On the Threxian homeworld, a political faction was arguing loudly against the new system. Their leader, a philosopher named Trex, gave speeches warning about the dangers of competition. "We are abandoning the principles that made the Federation great," Trex argued to a large audience. "For 6,000 years we have maintained peace through shared prosperity. Now we are creating divisions, advantages, and inequalities. This path leads to conflict, not cooperation. The speeches resonated with many beings who felt uncomfortable with the rapid changes. Protests began on several worlds, calling for a return to the old system of complete technology sharing. Lucas heard about the protests during a council meeting. The Chancellor addressed the issue directly, its crystal form glowing with serious orange tones. The concerns are valid, the Chancellor acknowledged. Change is difficult, especially change to something as fundamental as how we share knowledge. But we must ask ourselves, was the old system truly serving us, or were we simply comfortable with stagnation? A Threxian council member spoke up, defending his species' concerns. Comfort and stability are not the same as stagnation, Chancellor. We had peace. We had cooperation. Now we have competition and secrecy. Helen, who was attending as a scientific advisor, asked permission to speak. May I offer a perspective? Earth's history includes periods of complete openness and periods of protected development. We learned that neither extreme works perfectly. Total openness can lead to stagnation because there is no motivation to improve. Total secrecy leads to isolation and missed opportunities for collaboration. The key is balance. And you believe this new system achieves balance? The Threxian representative asked. I believe it has the potential to, Helen replied. We negotiate what to share and what to protect. We collaborate where it benefits everyone and compete where it drives innovation. It is messy and imperfect, but it is also dynamic and alive in ways the old system was not. Voss added his support. The scientific advances we have seen in just 9 months exceed what we achieved in the previous 50 years. Yes, there is tension. Yes, there is uncertainty, but there is also progress. The debate continued for hours. In the end, the council voted to continue the new system for the full 5-year trial period as agreed. But they also established new guidelines to address concerns about inequality and access to basic technologies that all species needed. Lucas left the meeting feeling both relieved and concerned. They had won the political battle for now, but the cultural transformation was far from complete. Some species were thriving under the new system while others struggled to adapt. The challenge would be ensuring that innovation did not come at the cost of the unity that had kept the Federation peaceful. 18 months had passed since the historic agreement, and the galaxy was gathering on Earth. The annual Innovation Summit was being held in Geneva, making this the first major Federation event hosted by humanity. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. Ambassador Lucas Grant stood in the main conference hall, looking out at representatives from dozens of worlds. The energy in the room would have been impossible to imagine at their first meeting. Species that had cooperated peacefully but passively for thousands of years were now engaged in animated discussions about competing research projects, negotiating technology exchanges, and most importantly, investing heavily in their own innovation programs. Helen Martinez was on stage, presenting results from the Human Vrelnir medical project. Behind her, massive holographic displays showed the revolutionary healing technology they had developed together. The breakthrough came from understanding fundamental principles rather than just combining existing tools. Helen explained to the audience. Humans approached healing through molecular manipulation. The Vrelnir used energy field resonance. By learning each other's underlying theories, we created something neither species could have achieved independently. This technology now works on 23 different biological types and is being implemented in medical facilities across the Federation. The audience responded with enthusiastic approval. Several species had already approached Helen about adapting the technology for their own medical needs, creating a whole network of collaborative projects spinning out from the original research. In another wing of the complex, Kyle Barnes was demonstrating the joint Human-Kellian Defense Project. Military officers from across the Federation watched as he explained the new shield technology. The Kellians brought centuries of experience with energy dispersion, Kyle told the group. Humans contributed our materials science and quantum field manipulation. The result is a shield system that adaptively responds to different weapon types. This would have taken either species decades to develop alone, but together we achieved it in under a year. The military demonstration was carefully calibrated. It showed genuine capability without revealing all of humanity's defensive secrets. The Federation Military Command, once skeptical of the new system, had become enthusiastic supporters after seeing the practical benefits of collaborative innovation. But perhaps the most important meetings were happening in the less visible rooms where Catherine Wells was finalizing the economic framework that would govern technology trade for years to come. She sat across from representatives of the Federation Trade Commission, putting the final touches on agreements that formalize technology as a tradable commodity. The key provision, Catherine explained, reviewing the document on her tablet, is the knowledge commons. Basic technologies that benefit all species remain freely shared. This includes fundamental energy generation, basic medical technology, standard communication systems, and essential agricultural methods. Only advanced or strategic technologies enter the trade system. A Morvellian trade commissioner named Pell pulsed thoughtfully. This addresses the equity concerns that were raised. Species will not be left behind in fundamental capabilities, but they will have motivation to develop unique advances. Exactly, Catherine agreed. It maintains the Federation's commitment to lifting all members while creating incentives for innovation. The agreement was more than just economic policy. It was a philosophical statement about what the Federation valued: cooperation and competition, sharing and protection, unity and diversity. Finding the balance had required months of negotiation and compromise. But the result was a system that most species could support. In a quiet garden outside the conference center, Lucas found himself walking with the Vrelnir Chancellor. The crystal being seemed to appreciate Earth's natural beauty, its form reflecting the colors of flowers and trees. "Tell me honestly, Ambassador," the Chancellor communicated, "did you anticipate this outcome when you first refused our traditional exchange?" Lucas considered the question carefully. "We hope to protect ourselves and maintain some advantages. We did not anticipate fundamentally restructuring the Federation. But you understood something we had forgotten." The Chancellor's form pulsed thoughtfully. "That comfort breeds stagnation. By forcing us to recognize our complacency, you gave us the motivation to grow again. With respect, Chancellor, I think you are giving us too much credit. We were just trying to survive in a very large galaxy where we felt very small. Perhaps that perspective was exactly what we needed. The powerful sometimes forget what it means to be vulnerable." The Chancellor paused, then continued. "There has been resistance, you know. Some species feel the old ways were better, that competition creates division." "Does it?" Lucas asked. "In some ways, yes. There are tensions that did not exist before. Species are protective of their research, worried about falling behind, but there is also excitement and purpose that was absent for too long." The Chancellor's form brightened. "I believe we will emerge stronger, but the transformation has costs." Lucas nodded, understanding the weight of changes they had initiated. "Every significant transformation has costs. The question is whether the benefits justify them." "Time will tell," the Chancellor replied, "but I am optimistic. Your species brought disruption, but also hope. You proved that a single species working independently can achieve remarkable things. You reminded all of us what is possible when we challenge ourselves." As the summit continued over the following days, several major announcements were made. The Federation Science Council created the Protected Innovation Fund, providing grants to species pursuing unique research paths. The military command established the Strategic Technology Reserve, allowing species to maintain classified defense capabilities while still cooperating on general security. Most significantly, the Federation Charter was formally amended to explicitly recognize the right of member species to maintain proprietary technology. What humanity had fought to establish was now codified law. On the final day of the summit, Helen gave a keynote speech that captured the spirit of the transformed Federation. 18 months ago, humanity stood before the Council and said no, not no to membership, not no to cooperation, but no to the expectation that we should immediately surrender what we had worked to achieve. That refusal became a catalyst for change. By valuing our own innovations, we challenged everyone to value theirs. By protecting what we had created, we inspired others to create. The old Federation was built on shared knowledge. The new Federation is built on shared inspiration. We do not just pool what we know, we inspire each other to discover what we do not yet know. Together, we are not just exploring the galaxy. We are pushing the boundaries of what is possible. The response was overwhelming. Even species that had initially resisted the changes acknowledged that the Federation was more dynamic and better prepared for whatever challenges the galaxy might present. As delegates, prepared to return to their homeworlds, Lucas stood in the empty conference hall with Ben Harper, who had arrived from Earth for the final days of the summit. "We changed the galaxy, Ben said simply. The galaxy changed itself, Lucas corrected. We just showed them an alternative. Ben pulled up reports on his tablet. Intelligence estimates say 35 species are now running protected research programs. Military assessments suggest the Federation's defensive capabilities could improve by 50% over the next decade. Economic projections show the technology trade market becoming one of the largest sectors in the Federation economy. And the risks? Still significant, Ben acknowledged. Competition could lead to conflict. Species might hoard discoveries that could benefit everyone. The gap between innovative species and those that struggle to adapt could create social problems. Lucas nodded slowly. Every system has flaws, but I think this system's strengths outweigh its weaknesses. As Earth's sun set over Geneva, painting the sky in brilliant colors, Lucas reflected on humanity's journey. They had come to the stars not knowing what they would find. They found a civilization that was peaceful but stagnant, cooperative but unchallenged. Unable to change who they were to fit the existing mold, they had shown a different way. The Federation would never be the same. Whether that change was ultimately positive or negative would be determined by generations to come. But for now, humanity had proven something crucial, that sometimes the greatest contribution is not sharing everything you have, but inspiring others to discover what they are capable of achieving. Lucas's communication device chimed with a message from Earth Command. Mission accomplished, Ambassador. Welcome to the new galaxy. He looked up at the emerging stars, knowing that among them were dozens of other species looking at their own skies, inspired to reach higher and create wonders they had forgotten were possible. Humanity had shocked the Federation by withholding their technology. But the real shock was what that withholding had unleashed. Not division, but inspiration. Not weakness, but strength. Not an ending, but a beginning. The future belonged to those brave enough to innovate, wise enough to protect what mattered, and generous enough to inspire others to do the same. As Lucas walked out into the cool evening air, he felt confident that,